Well, the Repco SuperSprint has come to an end here at the Ben Motorsport Park. What an action-packed day we had in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. Matt Nolte and Andy Jones. Hey, yesterday was awesome. Race 2 this morning was even better.
Oh, it certainly was, yeah. And look, I think everybody after yesterday went, man, that was a mega race. What's today going to deliver? And I'll be honest with you, there was a little bit of a holding pattern at the start of that race there where everyone was just trying to work out what their cars and their changes overnight had done for them setup-wise. And for me, that told a whole heap about how much change had to happen overnight. Everyone going, yeah, what's the car going to do? What are we going to get tyre life-wise? And thankfully, all the changes that happened today provided some epic racing. Racing was brewing across both races. We had 3 different winners, which was great. These guys here had a massive return to form, didn't they? Yeah. You know, Darwin and Townsville were not very good for Kelly Racing, but great to see Andre Heimgartner record a podium finish today. And
I remember asking you a question a while ago, why don't teams, when they have success at a track, go back to that same setup? Well, the 7 car did that for that race 2 this morning, and it reaped big rewards for them.
And we spoke about this after we went off air, didn't we? And I said to you, sometimes what happens is engineers are curious people. They forever want to chase the end of the ball of string, and sometimes they go so far down that ball of string that they can't actually make their way back to a ball of string. It's unraveled so far. And what I mean by that is if they change uprights and suspension geometry to a point where they don't have all the bits to get back to where they were, then they can't actually do it. So great that they were able to change the Kelly Racing Mustangs back to where they were at the start of the year when they were ultra fast at the Super Test at Taylor Benton.
Now, usually this would be the hustle to pack up garages and load the trucks, but we've got to come back next week. So forget what you saw today, even though it was really awesome racing. You can catch another big weekend. But now they switch their attention to a brand new and very quick course, I think it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's going to be really different next weekend because we take out a lot of those long loaded corners. You know, I think Neil Crompton was calling it turn 7 through to turn 10. We're all one big long right-hand corner, and the car is loaded for so much time through that complex of corners that the tyre just gives up, it wears out, and it's really tight and hard work on the Dunlop soft. So when we come here next week, a lot of the corners are tight 90-degree corners, and even I think when we turn off onto the West Circuit there, we end up, I think there's a 130-degree corner in there. So you're just going to keep coming back on yourself and back on yourself and back on you. It's going to be really tight and slow. So I'd be curious to see if we're going to see as many issues with the cars. I think everyone's going to soften their cars up. They won't be as stiff, they won't be as solid, and they won't be loaded as long.
Were you surprised at the end of today seeing Shell V-Power as strong as they were? The cars look really good from the outset, that final race today.
Oh, I think you'd be crazy in this day and age, and if you're associated with supercars in any way, shape or form, to be surprised when you see Shell V-Power strong. Particularly on Scott McLaughlin's side of the garage. He's delivered week in, week out, really now for 2 years. And so for me, not surprised in the turnaround of form from him, but and I'm not going to say it was surprising, I'm going to say more that it was just pleasant to see a return to form for Fabian Coulthard.
Yes.
To see him get that race win yesterday was brilliant on his side of the garage, and then to back it up with that second place at the end and be the top point scorer for the weekend, I think was just a real good shot in the arm of injection and life and goodness, because this can be a brutal game, and particularly when you look at 2-car teams like Walkinshaw and Andretti United here. You look, Bryce, he's a rookie driver. You look at Chaz, he's been around for a long time, but those 2 guys are both contributing week in, week out to results in that garage. And rightly or wrongly, Fabian Coulthard's been around for a long time, but it still just takes a bit of a chink in your confidence levels when you're being outdriven by your teammate. So for this weekend, I think he's done a really good job.
I thought Anton was unlucky today not to get the podium towards the end of the race there, just succumbs to the pressure from Whincup. But what is going on with that 9 car?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. I can't answer that for you, Matty, but yeah, it'd be great to see a little bit more speed out of those guys there. There is Anton. I don't know if you want to go and jump in there,
We're going to keep walking here because I'll get heckled if I go over to those guys. Yeah, the hot dogs will be flying if I go over to that part of the world.
The problem is we don't want to talk to Anton while Nathan and Brody Kostecki are there, because we don't know where we're going to end up. To be honest, to answer your question, I don't know what's going on with the 9. I mean, we've seen glimpses of pace. We saw it in Townsville. We saw it today. I spoke to Dave before the final race today, and he moved from 14th position to 7th in race 26, and he was pretty happy with his car, but he wasn't strong enough in race 27. But Anton on the other side of the fence, you know, he looked like he had really good race pace today, didn't he? But unfortunately, towards towards the end of the race, it just looked like he had a knife in a gunfight against Jamie Whincup, and he just couldn't do anything with it except try and defend as best he could.
Tough day for Tickford too. Every car's got a bit of damage on there. Sad to see the boost car not show the pace it was shown earlier today, but JLB, he was caught up in some warfare, wasn't he?
Tough day for them today, but you know, overall on the weekend, they were up and down like a yo-yo, weren't they? You look at Jack LeBrock, he was on that podium, and arguably he was on for the win yesterday, wasn't he? Just wrong-footed himself a couple of times in that epic battle with Shane Van Gisbergen and then with Fabian Coulthard later on. But today he just had a little bit of a battle, and I thought, I reported on it during the race for Fox Sports, was that I thought that they delaminated a left rear tyre, but he'd actually flat-spotted a left front tyre, and it was so badly flat-spotted that their tyre technician from within that team went to grab it, and he ended up with all the cords stuck into his hand. So, you know, it was all the way down to the belts with inside that tyre.
Well, you know you've had a good weekend when the first two garages, the first two teams have all locked up for a day. Now, not just for that sake, the wind has really picked up down here in the last 20 minutes. The sun's still out, but that wind has got some punch to it now.
It certainly does, yeah. I think I heard Neil Crompton say that it was up around the 35, 40 kilometre an hour mark. So, yeah, at some point here, if I just put my arms out, I could blow away very quickly, Matty. But it's certainly strong, yeah, and you can feel it. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see what we end up with next week and whether or not the weather conditions play a part. But you're right, these guys here, they've done a good job. Between them, they've recorded some pretty strong results, and that championship battle looks like it's going to go really well down to next weekend.
Well, enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the holiday this week, your last week before you get to go home next weekend. We get to do it next Saturday and Sunday, the OTR Supersprint. We're heading west, not to Western Australia, but to the West Circuit, the 3.4 Ks. For the OTR Supersprint, we look forward to seeing you next Saturday here at the Ben Motorsport Park.